Hey guys, check it out. I'm in the new Ford. Can you tell? E-Transit, that's right, it's all electric, but it only has about 116 miles of range. So in this video, if you're a plumber or if you're, let's say, an Amazon driver, at some point, you might have to charge it. So we're gonna go to the local EA station because we're down to only 10% and see just how fast and for how much it charges. All right, well, let's get all the boring stuff out of the way first. And what I mean by boring stuff is the numbers. So this van costs $59,000 as configured. It has a 68 kilowatt hour battery and a range of 116 miles. But more importantly, the number I'd be interested in if I was a plumber is how much more does this van cost versus a gasoline powered one, and that number is about 10,000. So we're going to try to figure out if the electrical part of the van makes up for that $10,000 difference because it's cheaper to run. A couple other numbers before we get to the EA station. It's got a tremendous amount of payload, 3,400 pounds. Keep in mind that a full-size truck has about 1,600 pounds of payload. So if you're looking to carry a lot of stuff, there's nothing better than a van. So let's go to the EA station. Let's see if there are some chargers that actually work. And let's see how long it takes to charge from about 10% to 80% and how much it's going to cost us. Those are the three numbers and three things that we're looking for. Now, if you guys have been watching alltfl.com, you know that over on the truck channel, we were actually in Alaska and we profiled a guy who has a school bus, an electric school bus. When you think about it, the duty cycle of a school bus is almost perfect for an electric vehicle because you can charge it up overnight and you take kiddos to school and you bring them back to the depot or school, charge it up, and then of course you can take the kiddos home from school. So I'm thinking that a van might have a similar duty cycle, in which case, let's say you're an Amazon driver and you're driving around in the morning and then you stop for lunch, charge it up, and then go drive around in the afternoon. So the question is, how much energy can you get over that lunch stop? And hopefully at the end of this video, we're going to let you know, and we're also going to let you know how much it costs to do that if you're doing it at a public Electrify America station. Now, if this were regular transit, this is where the fuel would go, but it's not. So Ford has moved it to the front over here, and you can tell there's your little typical Ford light that tells you how much power it's getting or how much power it has, and there's of course your DC charging for the fast charging. Now, did get an addict that pulled in here, so now it's starting to get busy. So ideally, all you'd have to do is just plug this in and the vehicle will start charging. Let's see if that works. This is where things fall apart, if they do fall apart. If it all works, the fan should start going on this thing and this initializing charge. Come on, start. Session fee. Continue. Is it charging? I think it's charging. Continue. I think it's charging. Yep. State of charge 9%. And we're at 15 kilowatt hours, 4, 9, 13, 17, 20. We want to get up as high as hopefully 110, 55, 60. It's all good. 70. Come on. Look at that, we're maxing out at 112. Now the other important number is 43 cents per kilowatt hour. Now that's pretty much standard for Electrify America public charging, but if you own this vehicle, let's say you're a plumber, you could charge this up at home, and at home when I'm charging, I'm paying 17 cents a kilowatt hour overnight because it gets much cheaper to charge overnight. So keep that in mind. This is about as expensive as it gets from a public charging station. All right, maybe not as expensive as it gets. When we were in Alaska, we did, I think, see, how much was it? 63 cents, Cole? Do you remember that? It was 61 or 63 cents? But that's Alaska, a whole different world. While we're charging, let me show you some other cool features of this van. Basically, it's got half of the powertrain of the Lightning Ford's F-150. So in other words, it's two-wheel drive, not four-wheel drive. This is always cool. You can unlock the door to give you maximum opening. The other cool thing that a lot of vans don't have is right here. Check this out. It's got two plugs where you can actually use the power on board to charge your gear, your tools, or maybe just your phone. Once again, unlock, opens all the way to give you a huge and cavernous space, because obviously vans are about space. Pretty low step in, because you're going to be coming in and out of this van a lot. And of course, like I said, this is the medium height van. Andre was getting about 2.7 miles per kilowatt hour when he was driving this around town. He did road trip it. I think on the road trip he got 2.4, which is pretty good, but vans are pretty aero to begin with, and almost tall enough. Another thing that's of course important is backing up. You can't see, but there's a little backup camera right there that shows you what's behind you, because of course this will be full of equipment or packages, or let's say you're a baker. Cakes! Could be full of cakes. Wouldn't that be cool? All right, it's all about the charging curve, right? So we've been here 5 minutes right now, and we've dropped down to 87 kilowatts, which isn't grand, and we've put in about 10% to 20% and spent $2.58. So the curve is already starting to drop down from its peak, and obviously you don't want to charge above 80% at a public station, because that last 20 or even 10% can take forever. So we're only going to go to 80%. I'm curious to see how long it'll take. I mean, let's figure you're going to stop for what, a half hour lunch, maybe 45 minutes if you're lucky, and hopefully we can get up to 80% in that time. Hey guys, thanks to our friends at Columbine Ford in Rifle, Colorado for the loan of this van. Thank you, Columbine. We really appreciate it. If you're looking for this van, I think this is their demo unit, but at some point, if you're in Rifle, I'm sure they'll have them to sell. If you're a van driver, let's face it, you spend a lot of time in here, basically live out of this thing, so you want to have plenty of power. So there's a USB right there and a 12 volt right there. Up here, there's another one, another 12 volt and a USB-C. You've got a lot of little cubby holes here for things like your sunglasses or whatever. You've got cup holders galore, one cup holder there, one down here, another one on the passenger side. Look at this luxury. I even have an armrest. And of course, some vans have storage up here. This one doesn't, but we do have oversized sunshades, because there's nothing better than the view out the front of the van. There's also a cup holder over here in this corner, and then there's one on the passenger side as well. A rotary dial knob, screen for all your infotainment. This one actually has cruise control. How cool is that? And basically, it's a very comfortable place to be. Now, if you're wondering, will this work as #vanlife? I don't know. I did a video recently saying that, electric vans might work, but a lot of you in the comments said no, it just doesn't have enough range. And that might be the case, nor are there charging stations in places you want to go, but that is quickly changing with both Rivian and Jeep building out chargers in places like national parks and cool trailheads. All right, now, like I said, every 10% we're at 82 kilowatts, 33% and $6.88. Still good. I mean, it's still, more than 2/3 of its maximum charge rate, or about that. I'll take that. While we're waiting, let's see what's under the hood. Oh my. A lot of scary looking orange cables are under the hood. No frunk, and you know what? I really don't care, because in a van there's plenty of space. I think we can live without the frunk. But basically you've got your windshield wiper fluid reservoir here, and a lot of cooling. And yeah, just a lot of scary looking cables and a lot of cooling cables and a lot of things that I don't want to touch, but no frunk. That's okay. With 3,400 pounds of payload, you really don't need more than that. All right, we're at 40%. We're still pulling 84 kilowatts, 15 minutes so far, $9.46. And just a quick note for all of you new to electric vehicles, these EA stations have 2 charging cables. That doesn't mean you can charge 2 cars with them. It just means that there are 2 charging cables so that you can reach to your charger better. So this one is occupied. So you'd think with 2 charging cables, you could charge 8 cars here, because there's 4 stations. You can only charge 4. All right, hey, caught up. What's your name?
Jessica.
Hey, Jessica, I'm Roman. I noticed that you're charging here and that you have a lift sign in your vehicle. So do you lift with an electric vehicle?
Yes, I do.
Tell me about that. How does that work?
I kind of try to charge up before I go to bed. I try to wake up and have my car fully charged, but it usually gives me about 300 miles in a day. So I like it. It's better than a gas. Usually if I drive all day, I'd have to gas up twice in a day. So I feel like I get more out of the vehicle.
So is this a car that Lyft provided, or is this something? Okay, all right.
Yeah.
And why'd you choose the electric car? Because I'm sure there were different ones you could choose.
Because I just wanted to, I had this vision of myself, honestly, and I was like, I want to experience the electric cars and see how that is,
Well, thank you, Jessica. I really appreciate it. Have a good Lyft day, I guess.
Thank you so much.
All right, bye.
You're welcome.
Oh, we're at 50%. Coming over. So 20 minutes charging. We're still pulling 79 kilowatts, and so far we spent $12.04. We're going to go up to 80, like I said, yeah, I mean, it's doing really well. I'm very impressed, and I think this is actually a real use scenario that could have real use advantages. All right, it's a real world situation, so I got real world food for me and my videographer, Cole. So I got a very expensive Five Guys burger and hot dog. This costs $30. Question is it going to be cheaper or more expensive to charge up the van than a lunch for two? Let's find out. Let's see where we're at. All right, we're almost at 80%. Touchscreen. Oh, look at that, $19.35. Still charging at 67 kilowatts, and it's cheaper to charge up the van from 10 to 80% than it is to have Five Guys for lunch. It's a wacky world we live in. We were at 12 miles of range, give or take, when we got here. I'm curious to see what the van says when we get into it. But at this point, if you're at an EA station and you go beyond, let's say, 80%, it just dropped down significantly. There it goes. Look at it drop down. It just went down to 34, 35 kilowatts. All you're doing is taking up time and keeping other people from charging. So 80% is perfect. $21.50. I'm going to stop it. Basically went from 10 to 80% in 37 minutes, which was enough time to not only stand around here and interview some people, but also go get lunch. And let's see how much range we got according to this. Check it out. 109 miles of range, which should be plenty if you wanted to go and deliver more packages or do some more runs if you're, being a plumber or some kind of local contractor. So I would say that was a really painless and really good experience. But let's just do some quick math. Like I said, it's about 17 cents at home. So here we pay $21.50. Yeah, I know. So let's just do some quick math on my little handy dandy calculator here. So let's all clear. So 50 times 0.17, and it would be $8.50 if I were to charge overnight for the same amount of energy, which is, relatively affordable. Now, if you're curious what that means over a longer period of time versus using a traditional internal combustion engine, over on our podcast, TFL Talk, Andre and Nathan actually ran all those numbers. So if you want to see that, just head on over to alltfl.com or check out TFL Talk. All right, let's go eat, Cole. Now, you may be wondering, that's a big burger, Cole, if having stuff in the van would affect your range. Because obviously this is 106 miles when empty, but what if you stuff 3,500 pounds of payload in there, of stuff? Well, in our testing with the Lightning, we have found that payload doesn't really affect range. It's really about aerodynamics. So if you were to tow a big, box trailer behind that, then yes, your range will go down, but payload, not so much. So I still think even with a full van, you'd still be about 100 miles of range.